Welcome to your second lesson for IELTS Writing Task 2. In this lesson, we're going to be looking at the 5 question types that you could get in your IELTS Writing Task 2 test. We're beginning to think about what kind of questions you'll get and what type of writing you're going to have to complete for this part of the IELTS test. Let's take a look at the 5 question types that you could get. So we have an agree or disagree question, advantages and disadvantages, a discussion type question, problem and solution, and a 2-part question. You'll notice that for the agree or disagree question, you are going to have to give your opinion throughout the essay. But for some of the other questions, you may be asked to give your opinion in part of your writing too. And your opinion is going to be given in the final paragraph, which is your conclusion paragraph. More on that later. Before I go further into the types of questions and some examples of the question types, I'd just like to talk quickly about the questions themselves. So, all questions begin with a general statement, highlighting an opinion or commonly held belief. And here is an example. Families these days don't spend enough time together during weekends and holidays. So this is kind of an opinion, it's a commonly held belief for our generation. Up next, you will be asked a question, usually using the same language as the name of one of the question types. And here is an example. What are some of the problems that families now have, and what solutions can you suggest? So I'm sure you've noticed that I've highlighted the question type, problems and solutions. So this is in fact a problem-solution question type. So all questions really are broken down into 2 parts. A general statement, which is an opinion or commonly held belief, and then the question follows that. Let's take a look at the whole question together. Families these days don't spend enough time together during weekends and holidays. What are some of the problems that families now have, and what solutions can you suggest? So there we have the 2 parts. Our general statement of the opinion, and the question that follows in orange. And of course, this is around the topic of family. So let's move on to having a closer look at the different question types with a few examples from past IELTS tests. And we'll begin with an agree or disagree question. For this question type, you will need to agree or disagree with the statement made in the question. So you can only choose to agree or disagree. And I'll show you how to structure that later. You're also going to need to give your opinion, which comes in the conclusion paragraph. Here are a few examples of an agree or disagree type question. The rising use of social media is making more people feel lonely. Do you agree or disagree? And of course, social media, it's linked to the topic of technology and the internet. Let's take a look at another example, and you may notice that the wording is slightly different, even though it is still the same question type. Due to an increase in obesity, governments are now increasing taxes on unhealthy foods. So that's our general statement. Let's take a look at the question. To what extent do you agree or disagree? So the language is slightly different. To what extent instead of do you in the first example. But it's still an agree or disagree type question. And the topic is, of course, food and unhealthy eating or obesity. Let's move on to our next question type, which is advantages and disadvantages. So you're going to have to list the advantages and disadvantage of a general statement made in the question. Many people are now choosing to live outside the city centres. What are some of the advantages and disadvantages of this? So it may be that you discuss the advantages being easy access to hospitals and restaurants, and the disadvantages being expensive rent. That's kind of what you might want to discuss, although there is absolutely no 100% correct answer. You just need to give your opinion on this general statement and question. Let's take a look at another advantages and disadvantages question. Some schools decide to educate boys and girls alone. What are the advantages and disadvantages of this type of school system? What is your opinion on separate gender schools? So here we kind of have two questions because you're also being asked to give your opinion, which you'll be putting in your conclusion paragraph. And really, it's quite popular that you are asked to give your opinion on an advantages and disadvantages question. I'll be showing you how to do this later, but for now, I'm just wanting you to get familiar with different kinds of questions before we go deeper into how to answer in these questions. Okay, next up, we have a discussion question. For a discussion question, you will need to write about two opposing points of view or two different opinions. It is common in this question that you might be asked your opinion too. So let's take a look at some examples. They often start with some people, and here we can see some people believe the best way to reduce crime is to increase prison sentences. Others feel there are better ways to stop crime. So there are our two different points of view, our two different opinions. Some people think longer prison sentences, others disagree. And the question, discuss both views and give your opinion. So you're going to need to discuss increasing prison sentences, and if you think that's a good idea. You'll need to talk about other ways that are possible ways of stopping crime. And our next example. Many people feel health insurance should be free, while others feel differently. Explore both of these views and give your opinion on this. So, should health insurance be free? You need to talk about that. And also, you need to talk about why you think we should pay for health insurance. And of course, the topic here is health. So, on to our next question, which is a problem solution question. For this question, you will need to write about a problem a government or possibly person is having and offer ideas for solutions to fix this problem. Example 1. The gap between poor and rich is growing in many countries. What problems does this cause and how could you solve this? It's important to remember that this is just your opinion. It doesn't have to be 100% correct and with real factual evidence that you are an expert in this field or in answering this type of question. It is merely about writing your opinion. So what problems does it cause between poor and rich? Well, I'm sure we can think of some ideas. We don't have to be experts in the IELTS. We just need to be able to write in a certain way. So what problems does this cause and how could you solve this? Instead of solutions, in this question, they've used the synonym solve. So remember, you might not see the exact question type in the question. So be prepared to be flexible. Let's take a look at the next example. The number of people reading books and newspapers is slowly declining. discuss the problems that this can cause and offer some solutions. So the question here has been slightly changed in terms of the wording. And here we have a topic which is about books. And on to our final question type, which is the two-part question. So, as the name suggests, you're going to be asked two questions about the given statement, the general statement. Here's an example. Music is an important part of cultures around the world. That's the general statement. And the two questions, why is music such an important part of people's lives? Should traditional music be protected for future generations? So in one paragraph, we'll answer question 1, and in the other paragraph, we'll answer question 2, and I'll show you the structure later. Here's another example. Plastic use has caused a lot of pollution in many countries. So obviously the topic is recycling and the environment. Why do you think plastic is used so much? What kind of solutions can you suggest to reduce plastic pollution? Now, I'm sure you're thinking, well, is this not a problem-solution question? Well, actually, it's still a two-part question, but the second question is asking you for some solutions. So, in a sense, it's almost a kind of mix, but there are still two questions, which means it's a two-part question. Okay, so that really is it, to show you some examples of the kinds of questions you're going to be having to answer in your Task 2 essay. As a quick sort of final activity, I'd like to run a quick quiz with you. So, what kind of question is this? People often believe the media treats famous people unfairly, while others disagree. Discuss both opinions. Okay, what kind of question is this? And it is a discussion type question. It's quite easy to see as the question part says discuss both opinions. And our second question for the quiz. Increasing sports in school is a priority for many governments. What are some of the advantages and disadvantages of this? And of course, the answer is an advantages and disadvantages question. So it's good if you can understand what kind of question you've been given, because then you'll really know how to structure your essay. Again, it's not testing you if you are an expert in this topic, for example, healthcare, crime. It's asking you to give your opinion and to structure your essay in a logical, clear way. So I hope you found it useful taking a look at some of the different question types, and really that's all for an overview of the 5 questions in IELTS Task 2.